Hello everyone, this is Zeeebo and welcome to this AFK journey video. So Season from Analytica actually sent me this updated endgame tier list from the Analytica community site. And this is a very well done tier list, very comprehensive in terms of all the unit coverage across all the different game modes. And they also give a point system for the unit to actually rank the unit's importance in the end game of Waves of Intrigue season. So this list is highly accurate because it has the opinions of many veteran players with very hardcore players as well. So it is a very good tier list in terms of the unit placement. So for today's video, I'll focus more on talking about the tiers of the units, as well as talk about what units could be really good in the Chains of Eternity season, at least in the early game side. And if there's any opinions or rankings which I kind of disagree with, I'll also just mention it briefly. But so far, running through this briefly, I think this tier list is highly accurate as a reference point for the end game of Waves of Intrigue season. So some of these units, they will also translate into the Chains of Eternity season, which I'll also mention in this video. So firstly, we have Freyasto. So Freyasto, King of Endgame, right? Used in every team for the Endless Dream Realm, also used in every run for the endgame AFK stage, being the best tank, being the best utility unit, having one of the strongest factional talent for AFK stage pushing itself. So this unit is warranted for in the top spot, and even the PvP side, I would actually put Freyasto a little bit higher, especially in normal arena, because in normal arena, Freyasto has that stat that actually boosts up your whole team's stat line by increasing your attack and HP by 1 more %. And on top of that, the utility and combo you can perform with Freyasto to give your other units more buffs is just really good, right? Damage reduction as well as energy regen on your carries or even your utility buffers are going to make your team a lot stronger. So this unit is just really strong across the board, and probably a lot stronger in normal arena compared to Supreme Arena, because in Supreme Arena, the Mauler factional talent is really powerful. So that's where the Celestial Hypogean factional talent is still really good, but it's just that it is lacking a little bit more firepower there. So that's why S tier is very warranted for. And in second place, we have Smokey. So similar to Freyasto, Smokey is pretty much used across all the different Dream Realm battles. Also one of the best AFK stage unit in the Smokey team. And even for the PvP side, like I mentioned before, the Mauler factional talent is so good that Smokey, who is not that good as an arena unit in normal arena setting, is really good because he has control immunity, he has death immunity, which allows him to stay alive for really long, for his buff to actually buff up all the other units, and for him to reach the third ultimate for maximum damage output. So Smokey is really good, but in terms of the arena ranking, I will give him a little bit lower because he has a lot of ways to be countered in normal arena. Confining spell, a bunch of controls, a whole bunch of nukes, immobilize, as well as moves that just stops him for a little bit, like Terminator's knockdown and stuff. So his rating for the PvP side, I'll give him maybe like a S+ for Supreme Arena, but for the arena side, maybe like a A or a B+, depending on how you look at your team setup itself. Now third place, we have Harak, so S+ as well. So Lily May, Harak, as well as Smokey, I think without a doubt the strongest units, because like they are pretty much seen in most of the endgame teams. But for Harak's case, I would actually say Harak is, I'll say, a unit which benefits a lot from the endgame mechanics to let him see a lot of use in the Endless Dream Realm side, because a lot of Harak's buffs actually comes from the charm side, giving this unit a lot of power there for the Dream Realm side. But in the upcoming Chains of Eternity season, Harak actually got a really powerful PvP kit. So looking at the current Magical Charm set ability itself, I'm seeing Harak actually transform from a very PvE centric character to be an extremely good PvP only character, because that Magical Charm, I don't think it will see that much of a use for the Dream Realm side, except for those bosses that can split into multiple units. But that's that. So that's for Harak's performance based on what I see so far in the Chains of Eternity season in the VN server. But without a doubt, Harak's one of the strongest physical carry so far in the end of Waves of Intrigue season. So next one, we have Lily May. So all around good unit. Don't need to talk too much, right? Sees use almost in every single game mode, but maybe less useful in the AFK stage pushing side, because you have better options for control and you have better options for AoE damage over Lily May. Although you do see her used in very niche situation where you want to cancel specific ultimates like Shakir's ultimate or your opponent's Iron's ultimate, for example. So that's for Lily May's performance. So top 4 unit without a doubt, S+ in the endgame Waves of Intrigue season. So moving forward, Smokey's still going to be really good in the early game of Chains of Eternity. Lily May's still going to be pretty decent, but I have sort of feel that Lily May has fallen off a little bit, except on the PvP side. So those are the few things to take note of. And then for Freyasto and Harak, I don't really have them on my free-to-play account, so I'm not going to comment too much. And then for the 7th, or rather for the 5th to the 9th place, over here, we have Mikola, Talin, Odie, Shakir, and Ludovic. Okay, I think Ludovic's really good, but mainly because of the Endless Dream Realm side, because Ludovic is not that strong in the AFK stage pushing side, which is showcased over here, right? But the thing is, in the PvP side, I also don't think that Ludovic is that good, but I could be wrong, because with Bonnie's existence right now, Bonnie is an insanely good Graveborn character, which means that, let's say, if you do want to run like a more Graveborn centric team for your normal arena, Ludovic is going to be one of your best choice for the healing compartment. And Ludovic over Damien for Bonnie is a lot better, because Ludovic's AoE is bigger and Ludovic can actually follow Bonnie more consistently, whereas Damien's card has a much smaller AoE and sometimes might not cover Bonnie on the PvP side. So for the PvP side, I think S tier is okay. Might even be better for the normal arena side for this one from A to S, but generally I agree with the ratings. Let me see, Alpha Bear. Yeah, I think S plus is because this unit is used in the top damage teams as the main carry in the Endless Dream Realm boss because of the HP percentage nature of his skill kit as a healer. So that's for Ludovic's case. So for Shakir's case, also S plus. Okay, so Shakir is not that good for AFK stage because like he dies pretty easily. But for the PvP side, yeah, okay, I think Shakir has always been an anti-control tool, so it feels like this season control has fallen off quite a bit. And even if you talk about control, it's more of a Tasi control over the one shot of Iron control. So against the likes of Tasi, Shakir doesn't actually have a quick way to deal with her, and Tasi actually deals more damage over time, right, with regards to the damage output of that character. So Shakir against Tasi ain't exactly like the best matchup, even though Tasi is a control based character and Shakir is unaffected, because what happens when you pit Shakir against Tasi is when Tasi casts an ultimate, she'll just kill off your whole team, and then you have like 3 or 4 enemies attacking Shakir, and even if he has control immunity, he will still be sniped down. So yeah, PvP side definitely fallen off a little bit, but definitely still really good for Supreme Arena because of all the different Lupine aura, control immunity, as well as the Mauler of Factional Talent. So for the Dream Realm side, yep, pretty accurate. Like, Shakir is used in all the top damage teams, but if you don't have Shakir, if you were to use like the next downgrade to Shakir, like either Mikola or Lily May or whatever, I think you'll still do decently fine. But if you want to push your damage to the top damage, I think Shakir is a must, and that's why he's an S tier over here. So that's for the Dream Realm side. For Odie, okay, Odie, I think Odie's performance is probably not gonna be as good in the Endless state, because across all the different seasons itself, Odie has always been the king of early game, and even in the Chains of Eternity side, Odie still super duper strong in all the Dream Realm bosses. So if you base Odie right now on this end of season or the Waves of Intrigue end season tier list, Odie's S tier for sure. But once you move into the Chains of Eternity, all these will actually be S plus, because he's seeing use in almost all the bosses for the early game itself. So this is Odie, right? Odie is just a king of early game, but not so much for the late game side. And then we have Talin. Same thing, Talin is probably going to be queen of early game as well for the Dream Realm side. So these two units has a very similar fate in terms of their trajectory, but Odie's a little bit more free-to-play friendly, more accessible for most people over Talin, and that's why I think Odie could be a little bit higher, because you can make do without Talin in your team, but you can't make do without Odie, because Odie does so much across all the different game modes. And to be really honest, giving Odie just S for AFK stage is actually super underrated. Like, I think Odie is always going to be S plus, because you can manual his ultimate to bring down core targets first, and then from there steamroll, and you still have the Mauler factional talent for the talent trials to actually back him up. So I disagree with the AFK stage pushing side for the Endless. I'll give it S+, but for the other categories, I think OD is very strong. So that's for OD's case. So for Mikola, B for AFK stage, yeah, she just run in front and die. And if you can't control the arena, then you are not going to get the buff from her. But across the Dream Realm side, Mikola is one of the best buffers in the Endless Dream Realm state. So yep, warranted for. PvP, subjective. Yeah, but because of the Mauler factional talent, a lot of the Mauler characters, which probably ain't gonna be really good without the Mauler factional talent, is usable in the Supreme Arena side. So these are the top 9 characters. So for the 10 slot with Sonya versus Reina. I think you can actually put Sonya and Reina in very similar category in terms of what they do and what they excel at. But personally, I would say Sonya is much cheaper than Reina. So if you're new to the game and you are able to get more units of the normal hero summons and you're lucky enough to get Sonya, then that's where you can actually skip on Reina to actually focus your resources on either Harak or Freyasto instead. Because in the tank compartment, Freyasto is currently the strongest. You have a few other options, but you just can't get like the same effect that Freyasto can do, right? You also don't have a unit that does what Harak can do, so they are very unique right now. But for Reina's case, yes, he's still really good in the early game of the Season 3 Dream Realm side as well as the PvP side, so you can definitely build him up. But if you do have Sonya, then Reina's priority might drop a little bit. But I do agree with all the ratings here, so that's that for the different ratings across all the different bosses. So to be really honest, I don't agree that Reina is A tier for this boss, because if let's say you don't have Sonya or if you don't have Shakir, you can use Reina in their slot and I think you will still do pretty well. So the only thing sort of hindering Reina or putting him lower on the Dream Realm side is because like in the best teams, you don't see people using Reina, right? But let's say if you don't have every other top units to get the most optimal combination, I think Reina still does really fine to give you good damage. So that's for Reina's opinions. Now Coco, yeah, I mean, Coco is pretty similar to OD in a sense. In the Dream Realm side, Coco's pretty dope in the early game, but falls off in the late game when survival is not the thing. So Coco's a very defensive character. So when offense is what you want to do to get more damage, Coco's not in the consideration, but I do agree with the rating. So A tier. Tarsi's A tier as well. Yeah, Tarsi's the Dream Realm side definitely hurt Tarsi in terms of the rating, unfortunately, but then her kit is really powerful in your AFK stage as well as PvP, but just not that good for the Dream Realm side. So for Scarlita's case, yeah, Scarlita's still really good for PvP. Yes, I agree. Scarlita magic is insane. Like, there are just certain matches where you think you can't win, Scarlita comes down and slams the opponent and you win the match from there. But other than that, I think Scarlita's not that good across the board. To be honest, for the AFK stage pushing side, more for the talent stages, because you do have the buff of the seasonal factional talent to give you more control. Now for Bonnie, I'll be really honest, I think Bonnie's super duper underrated, but Bonnie right now in the Chains of Eternity season looks to be one of the stronger early game Dream Realm characters as well. So this unit, I think the rating for the end game for Waves of Intrigue is warranted for, because in the end game, magical damage is not that good. HP percentage as well as true damage is the way to go. So Bonnie falls off a little bit here, but this numbers or this rating will change in the Chains of Eternity season, so stay tuned for that. But Bonnie's rating in the end game of Wave of Intrigue is warranted for. So to measure, okay, to be really honest, right, I would give Tamasia S+. Although the Iron Armor's Tamasia com is really strong in control, but I think the credit goes more to Iron Armors, because you can function without Tamasia, but you cannot function without Iron. So like, I do think that Tamasia should be a B tier character, because outside of the PvE AFK stage pushing side, I don't know, I don't think PvP people actually even use Tamasia, because Bonnie is really good now and Tamasia requires too long to build up the inbound and the EX weapon ability, and then nowadays you also don't see people using her in the Dream Realm. So if you rate her just off the AFK stage, I'll actually give her the B tier, because like, she's a combo piece, but only that one team, and I think she's not that important. You can function without her, but you can't function without the next unit, which is Iron. So Iron S+ for AFK stage for sure, because many teams still build around him. For the PvP side, if his ultimate can go through, I think he's still insanely good. So pretty much a Tarsi, but from the previous season itself. So A tier, definitely warranted for. Nara's rating being as A tier is actually surprising. Why is Nara S+ for AFK stage? Okay, so Nara is definitely usable in the AFK stage with the Smoky team, because Nara's chains can actually pull the enemy in to reposition them, and there's this artifact which actually leaves the enemy and then pull to your furthest enemy on your end, which is probably the unit that's pulled by Nara. So this gives you that repositioning ability to pull the unit in and then pull them into the Smoky ultimate itself. But other than that, I don't know. Like, is it warranted for just because of one team that makes her decently good? Because I do think that there are many other ways to actually build up the Smoky team, and like, I don't think Nara's actually a must. Like, she's a good to have, don't get me wrong, but I think S tier but not S+. For PvP side, I also don't see a lot of Nara for the PvP side, cause like, number one, if you face against a Nara, you can just iron armors against it, and then if you use a Mauler against Nara, I think Nara melts pretty fast as well. So the Dream Realm side is true C tier, but the PvP side, I'll actually give A tier across these two. So slightly disagree with the Nara's, and I don't think she's a A tier character. B tier probably because of that use in the Smoky team, but outside of that, well, we can use her in Triple Assassins, but even that team is not that strong, so that's that. Then for Arden's case, A tier, okay. Yeah, AFK stage with Iron, as well as having good AoE damage and control, yeah. PvP I think still good. So like Iron Armors and Arden, they are like pretty much the trio combo, so their rating should be highly similar, but Iron's the most important one, so slightly higher for normal arena, whereas Armors as well as Arden's rating is, yeah, pretty similar to Iron, so agreeable A tier. We have Torrent next. Yeah, Torrent has fallen off quite a bit on the AFK stage side because Foresto is around, right? So like I mentioned, Foresto is one of the strongest tank, in fact the current strongest tank, and he takes over the job of what Torrent wants to do while doing it better and giving you more flexibility and stats, so that's why his stats has fallen. But on the PvP side, yeah, still S tier. I think I still use Torrent a lot on the PvP side for normal arena as well as the Supreme arena. So we have Elsa, A tier. I mean, certain bosses still runs Elsa, right? Olsen for example, and Crystal Beetle for example. So like in the Dream Realm side, I think her rating is still okay. But personally speaking, yeah, I think A tier is fine. Because PvP wise, because of the Mauler factional talent, because of the Iron Armors combo, I think Elsa's still a pretty decent character. Then Lenya. I wouldn't actually put Lenya in the same tier as Elsa though. At least not in the end game, cause like in the end game, as much as Elsa doesn't do that well across all the different bosses, but she still sees some use at least in 2 bosses, right? For Lenya's case, I think you can still use Lenya against Olsen, but definitely fallen off quite a bit because of the physical damage fall as well as Lenya's kit in general. So probably a B tier character. Florabelle A tier, AFK stage, yes. Zoo team, Mauler team, Control team, Wilders team. Florabelle in bossing, I guess is feasible. Maybe in a physical Wilders team, I guess. But like, I don't know. I don't see much people using Florabelle for bossing, so very hard for me to comment. But I guess if you were to rate her based on her AFK stage across to Dream Realm, I would actually give Florabelle a B tier, to be really honest. Cause like Zoo ain't exactly really strong, and for PvP, you rather have Iron Armor's instant control, right? Florabelle's good, but I think there's just a lot of answers for the PvP side. So that's that. Rowan, definitely one of the units that benefits a lot from this season's factional talent. So AFK stage, the Light Bearer factional talent combo with Tarsi, insanely good. PvP wise, really usable as well, because if you can get his ultimate off multiple times, you pretty much win the game there. Dream Realm, nope, no damage, so C tier, yup. Vala, yep, Vala's rating is, yeah, correct, highly accurate, so not gonna talk too much. More PvP centric right now, same as Dino. So Dino's S+ when you can actually build Dino up. So like A tier, just off his sheer power level on the PvP side. because if you build him up, you pretty much destroy everyone else in the meta right now. But other than that, not that good across other game modes. Hewin, AFK stage, yes. PvP, yes. Hewin is one of those units where if she gets off her ultimate, you just pretty much win the game most of the time. Then we have Barrel. I think Barrel is a little bit underrated, to be really honest. Because like, Barrel actually has quite a few users for AFK stage. Very, very niche ones, but he's very special. Like very, very special. So like in terms of his uniqueness over other units, I would actually give him a S tier for AFK stage, but his rating, I don't think he's worse than Florbell, to be honest. If you ask me between Barrel and Florbell for the Zoo team, I think Barrel's more important as the core. And between Lenya and Barrel, I think Lenya definitely has some use in the Dream Realm side, but Barrel's a lot stronger on the PvP side as well as the AFK stage side. So I do think that Barrel can go into the A tier. So for Brutus' case, to be honest, Brutus is S for AFK stage, to be honest. Brutus is the tank and the frontliner you use when you don't have Resto in your Mauler team. So to be fair, I'll actually give Brutus a little bit higher. For the PvP side, more so for Supreme Arena, for the Mauler Factional Talent. Dream Realm, no use, so that's that. Carolina, yup. Carolina, Iron Ardent Armors combo, very, very powerful there. PvP, definitely fallen off a little bit. But the one thing I don't understand is, how can an S plus tier pushing unit be worse than Lenya as well as Florbell in terms of overall rating? Because Carolina definitely sees more combos in the PvP side if you're able to pull it off, right? So if you give, for example, Florbell as well as Lenya the B tier for Dream Realm, although they are B tiers, but you don't actually use them a lot because you have cheaper units and you have better units on top. Like, why are they in the A tier whereas Carolina is in the B tier? I think Carolina is definitely another A tier character. Damien... To be fair, right, Damien's actually really good for AFK stage as well, to be really fair. With obviously all the Iron teams in general, although maybe not as strong as without the factional talent. But Damien's just really good for PvP that I do think that if, let's say, either Lenya comes down, Lenya Florbell comes down, or Damien and Carolina goes up. So these two units, I think they should be in the A tier range. But I do agree with most of the rating, except for maybe the AFK stage side as well as the PvP side. Yeah, Dream Realm, they're definitely not good, right? But the thing is, if you were to give this same benchmark of Lenya and Florbell being insanely good in like some game modes and being mediocre in others, and they are A tier, then we should also maybe give the same benchmark for Carolina and Damien. Although I do think that Dream Realm plays a bigger role, but even for Florbell and Lenya, nobody uses them anyway. So even if they're usable, if nobody uses them, then their number should actually fall a little bit. So that's that. Then we have Dunlea. So Dunlea is also like Dino, but a little bit worse because Dunlea is actually really hard to play around. So yeah, I think Dunlea in B tier is fine, to be honest. Definitely has the power of the arena side. And Chandra, same thing, okay, fair. Cassidy in AFK stage, yeah, smoky teams. PvP, yeah. Dream Realm, yeah, Cassidy is definitely usable, to be honest. It's just that, like I mentioned before, like any unit that is below A tier, right, they usually can be used, but nobody uses them. So, like, I guess that's why Cassidy is B tier. That's why I say, like, Lenya as well as Florbell should actually drop down as well. So that's that. We have Parisa, okay, fair, AFK stage, fair. Iron Armor's additional mage damage, additional AoE stack from the Floral Blast. Leica is fair as well. So it's like if they are like B tier or C tier, usually you don't see them being used in the boss fight because you can just use all the A tier units, right? And you have so many of them. So, and they're all pretty accessible for most of them. So like that's why the B tier characters, I don't actually talk too much about their Dream Realm. Then we have Cecil. Okay, I guess to be fair, I agree with the numbers. Like I think Cecil does see some use. It's just that she has fallen off so much that I didn't actually see her a lot this season, so that's that. Hugin's AFK stage, pretty good. Hugin actually works really well with Oli for AFK stage pushing. So A tier is fine, but like you don't actually need Hugin to function. You actually Rowan is more valuable than Hugin for AFK stage. So that's that. PvP side, you have a few teams, Dino teams, Vala teams in general, or teams that can benefit from the buffs itself are all useful. So Dream Realm side, I don't know. Hugin, I don't actually have the opportunity to test this unit, but for the Chains of Eternity season, right? I think Hugin might actually see more use, at least in the early game of the Dream Realm side. So that's that. So together with obviously all the top tier units that I spoke of, I think Hugin's one of those units that you can definitely build up and try to use him for the early game for the Dream Realm side if you have the resources. Okay, Sylvina, fair. Not gonna talk too much about Sylvina. Lumon, yes, very, very strong for AFK stages. Everything else is fair. Sinbad, very niche. It's an A-level character because there are certain fights where you need to rely on the debuffs for you to clear it without the likes of Harrock, for example. So I think Sinbad could be a little bit better. Dream Realm side, same thing. Necro Dragon usable cause he's highly mobile and the debuff reduces damage output from Necro Dragon for your team to survive. Olsen has the adaptive prowess to increase the damage done by further reducing the physical and magical defense on Olsen. Soren's a C tier. I mean, the only reason why Soren is in the B tier is probably because of this Supreme Arena with the Mauler Factional talent. But without that, Soren is quite shitty. We shall see how he performs in Chains of Eternity. Nero's, honestly speaking, I mean, to be fair, you can use Nero, but I don't see that many people using him, and those that use him against me don't perform that well, so I'll actually give Nero C tier. Merrily C tier, yeah, like fallen off quite a bit. Definitely still usable for Dream Realm if you really want to make her work, but like, yeah, I don't think she's that good. Why is Corinne so low? Okay, to be fair, Corinne's AFK stage and PvP is pretty bad. But for the Dream Realm side, I think Corinne might actually be usable if you don't have better units though. I do think that Corinne can be a B tier. Because if you factor in, for example, like Battle Drills and Primal Lord, Corinne does see users there. So like, if you talk about just general utility wise, without this point system restriction, Corinne's probably a B tier character. Yeah, Luca C tier, agree. Danny C tier right now, agree. Kruger, yeah, I mean you can use Kruger for the physical team for Dream Realm bosses, but there's only one team uptight. But then, like I mentioned, in the early game, Kruger's gonna see more use again because of the magical physical split as well as the transition to the new season. So Seth in C tier, fair. Viperion in C tier, fair, yeah. I think Viperion's usable, but like Mono Faction attack is so good that his burst is not gonna burst people and then he just dies afterwards. Hodgkin is fair, so like if the units in C tier in Dream Realm means they don't see use, yeah, just don't bother about them. So Walker is fair, Rice is fair. To be honest, I think Rice might actually be higher for the Supreme Arena side because of the Mono Faction talent and the AoE damage, and on certain maps where you can cast the ultimate immediately. Then for the bossing side, yeah, B tier. So that's that. But yeah, Satrana fair, Faye is fair. Brian, why is Brian so low though? Look, Brian's actually really good for PvP. Yeah, because you can use Brian to counter the Lily May, and then you get your Iron Armor combo go off. So this unit is definitely a little bit better in Arena and maybe even Supreme Arena, depending on the matchups itself. It's just that I think people don't sort of try to discover his potential, right? So like I think Brian's a B tier, to be really honest. And like he has this really good charm ability that I think even in the Dream Realm side, you can use him as a debuffer if you don't have every other good units. Although, like I mentioned before, any unit that's B tier probably won't see much use. But then, Brian's one of those exceptions that can be a good anti-Lily May tool to bait out the ultimate first, and also a decently good debuffer in all the bossing contents. So Valen C tier fair, Salazzo C tier fair, Igor C tier. Dude, I think Igor is severely underrated because like, if your opponent's not running OD, right, Igor actually can run WoW and do quite a bit in the PvP side. But then, like, I don't think people will invest in Igor specifically for PvP because it's super duper niche. So, yeah, to be fair, I will give Igor a B tier, but then like C tier here is fine. Atalanta C, Morale C, and Kafra C. Yeah, so the tier list is really accurate, like in terms of the rating, in terms of all the bossing stuff. So I'm not going to comment too much because I already spoke of certain units which I kind of disagree a little bit, but generally really highly accurate. For the Chains of Eternity season, I've also spoken of what some of the better early game units that you guys can sort of focus on to prepare yourself for Chains of Eternity season. But if not, that's it. I will link this tier list in the description as well as the comments down below, so you guys can visit it to review all the units for the end game of the Waves of Intrigue season. So thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.